Hi, I'm Amelia Carter. For the longest time, I believed that playing it safe was the only way to live. I had what most people would call a comfortable life, a steady job, a dependable husband, Ryan, and a quiet home in Charlotte, North Carolina. On the outside, it all looked perfect. Trimmed lawns, friendly neighbors, a life built on routine and security. But inside, I felt hollow, like I was living someone else's dream, not my own. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was at my desk, halfway through a budget proposal, when my phone rang. It was my sister, Megan. The moment I heard her voice, I knew something was terribly wrong. She told me Mom had been rushed to the hospital. The doctors had found late-stage cancer. It was aggressive, and they didn't think she had much time left. My hands trembled. I hadn't been home to visit in almost a year. Life had gotten in the way. Or at least, that's the excuse I told myself. The truth was much harder to admit. I had buried myself in work and obligations because it was easier than facing the guilt and pain I carried. Years of unresolved tension between my mom and me. Back at the office, I was up for a big promotion. The kind with a corner office, a substantial raise, and recognition for all the late nights and sacrifices. But my manager, Olivia, had made it clear. Taking time off now could cost me the opportunity. She said the firm needed someone reliable, fully committed. The pressure was suffocating. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Ryan sat beside me, absorbed in his tablet, as if the world hadn't changed. When I finally spoke up about taking a leave, he didn't hesitate. Ryan, voiceover. You can't just walk away from everything you've worked for. But Mom's dying, I said, voice breaking. Ryan didn't look up. She might have weeks, maybe days. I get it. But your job, that promotion you've wanted for years, don't throw it away now. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I realized that if I stayed, I'd never forgive myself. I'd have the fancy title, the corner office, but my heart would be haunted by regret. The next morning, I told Olivia I was taking an indefinite leave. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Emily, you're one of our top performers. I don't want you to walk away from this. Are you sure? I asked. I'm sure, I said, even though my voice shook. Packing my suitcase, Ryan just nodded quietly, as if he'd already accepted the growing distance between us. We had been more like roommates than partners for years, and neither of us wanted to admit it. I drove 5 hours back to my hometown. The hospital room where Mom lay was smaller than I remembered, but her eyes still held that same fierce light. When she saw me, tears welled up. You came, she whispered. I held her hand. I'm here. I'm staying. The weeks that followed were some of the most painful, yet healing times of my life. I cooked her favorite meals, sat with her during treatments, and listened to stories. Some I had heard a dozen times, others she'd never shared before. We laughed, cried, and even argued. But for the first time in years, we were truly together. During quiet afternoons, I started writing in a journal. At first, it was just a way to process everything. But then, I began sharing my entries online, without expecting anyone to read them. Slowly, people did. They commented, shared, and sent messages, telling me my words helped them cope with their grief. When Mom passed away 6 weeks later, she was at peace. She died holding my hand, a soft smile on her face. I stayed for the funeral, then returned to Charlotte, unsure what awaited me. Ryan had moved into the guest room. We barely spoke. I tried to salvage what was left of our marriage, but the truth was unavoidable. We had grown apart. 2 months later, we filed for divorce. Without a job and a marriage, I should have felt lost. But strangely, I felt something else. Freedom. I had made the hardest decision of my life, and it brought clarity. I focused on my writing. I expanded my blog, joined online writing communities, and submitted pieces to publications. Within a year, I built an audience of thousands. Invitations followed: a wellness retreat in California, a podcast interview, and eventually, a book deal. The woman I became was someone I never imagined. Strong, purposeful, unafraid of starting over. Looking back, I realized leaving my job and marriage wasn't a breakdown. It was a breakthrough. That hard decision changed everything, not overnight and not without pain, but it led me to a life that finally felt like mine. And now, when people write to me and say, "Your story gave me the courage to make my own hard decision," I know it was all worth it. Because sometimes walking away isn't the end. It's the beginning. And that, I've learned, is where real life begins. If you're facing a hard decision, remember, you're not alone. Thank you for watching my story.